Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to your favorite YouTube channel. So today, guys, like always, another weekly analysis for you. On the screen, other pairs we'll be analyzing today, but do stay to the end of the video because I do have a bonus pair in store. So make sure you do stay to the end of the video to find out which pair that is. But yeah, guys, I will start with going over my trades for the week first, and then we'll get into the video. If there's a particular pair you want to see, feel free to skip ahead to that. But I did have two positions. Two positions this week, one on NZJPY, which was a loss. I was looking for the market to rebound from this weekly area here. We did see an awfully big push to the downside. So my mistake with this one was not taking into account the momentum on the weekly time frame here. The market was coming to a great area where I was expecting to bounce from. It's a trade that would take time again, especially coming into that price swing low with such momentum. However, the weekly candle closed extremely bearish there, and the likelihood is that we were going to see some type of downside, not necessarily closed bearish, but the market was probably going to wick to the downside at the very least. So I got into that trade a little bit too early. I still do think we can see some upside for this one because we still haven't broken through that main structure yet. This isn't our main swing point. This one is because we create the new high from this point there. So the structure is still bullish. So I'll still be looking for some longs, but unfortunately that level did not hold there. My entry was pretty early at the week, so where do we open? I think my entry maybe was around here-ish on the hourly time frame, stop loss around there. So as you can see, it did take out my trade. And then I had a second trade on, which I'm still currently in, on Aodu CAD, which I'm short. And this one very closely came to my stop loss as well. My entry was on that candle there. My stop loss was at 0.9151, I'm pretty sure, which is just around there-ish. That's 149, but slightly above there. So you can see it was like 3 or 4 pips away from my stop loss. But I made sure I did give myself some extra room because I knew that wick had a good chance of being taken out, just in case if the market did take out that resistance, that wick is most likely going to be taken out as well. So I did give myself a few extra pips than I normally would do in a normal stop loss, just in case the market did come for that wick. So yeah, I'm still in this position, currently running around 30 odd, 25 pips actually. The market did pull back against me there. But yeah, I'm still looking at Aodu CAD returning back down to these lows for this trend to continue. Really, it is a little bit of a corrective pair. It has hit my first target for the trade, which was coming to these lows here, so I have secured some profit coming into that low, but my main target is for price to come and take out those lows. I do have a monthly target as well. I'll see how the market's moving. It's very corrective, so I'm thinking about potentially closing most of my profit when I get down there and maybe leaving 20% to run, but because it's so corrective, I may just look to get out the trade completely, to be fair. We'll see what happens, and I'll make the call when we get there. But yeah, Aodu CAD, I'm currently short bias for this one. Reason I entered the trade, market still bearish in the 4H. We had a beautiful confluence of the trend line coming through there, went short from that level, coming back into that same resistance, and just looking for the market to return to those lows. Unexpected pullback, but it looks like the market has corrected itself. So currently in that trade, obviously I'll update you going into the next week during the streams and my next analysis, but those are the current trades that I've taken this week. But yeah, onto EURUSD. So for this pair, again, we have come into our monthly target. If I actually go to the quarterly time frame, you can see we have come into this area here. We had two targets, was that level and this level here. We just about come into that one and had a bit of a pullback. So with EURUSD, especially in those areas, there was no real intention for me to sell the market because it's so oversold and just so bearish that I do want to see a pullback, which is currently happening right now. So the level of interest I had for EURUSD was this level here coming into the week. Price support there, term resistance at 0.988. So we came into that level. And we didn't come into that level. We didn't come into that level. We just maintain bearish momentum. But Hopefully we're going to come into that level, and from there as well look to base short. So again, nothing's really changed from last week. I said I'm waiting for a pullback into here. Didn't happen, but it looks like it's on its course to do that. Again, I will be looking for price to return back down to these lows, and I do think there probably will be some nice buys back up again because of where we're trading in the higher time frames. If this level doesn't hold, I will have my eye on this consolidation here as well. So that is definitely the second area of interest for me, and where I can see potentially another swing happening back down again. So with the DXY, I do expect to see some retracement for the DXY to the downside. So I do think Euro can push higher, potentially there and potentially that level there as well. But in terms of structure, the DXY is still bullish and structure is still bearish for EURUSD. So I'm still a bear on EURUSD until I've had some change of structure, and that's when I'll start to be looking for reversals. But we have tapped into a key level. We're seeing some retracement. Still going to be looking for a lower high to form. My areas of interest are 0.98821 and 0.99563, and targets are back down at 0.95624 for next week. Okay, so now on to USD JPY. So for this pair, not too much. You can see we've had consolidation last week, and this week pretty much consolidation again within the larger consolidation. So not much to report on for this pair. We're still trading around 145, very key monthly resistance, as you can see on the left here. So price is still trading at this key monthly resistance where we could retrace from and see some downside, but no confirmations for that to happen yet. So for this one, again, I'm expecting retracement, but not really willing to trade it. It's just a little bit too risky, and I don't have a lot of confidence in my favor, apart from the market's very overextended and trading at some monthly highs. So for me, I'll be staying away for this one, but if you are looking to trade it, there could be some short-term sells. As you can see, we're coming to the high of this channel, and I'm expecting the market to come back down again. And if we take a look close at the 4H price action, you can see we've got the range high here, which the market is testing, and we've got the range low here. For me, this is the big fake out, and here we've actually got consolidation at those range highs. So shorts would look a lot better if we can clear this support here around 144. If we can break through that, most likely we'll see price continue back down to the lows of the range, which is around the 142 area. So measure that in pips, still got about 200 pip range. So there's a lot of pips in this range here, and definitely something to consider. But again, it's just all the higher time frames, monthly, weekly, daily, all showing bullish momentum. For me, I'm not really want to go against that, but from a day trading purposes, you can snap a decent amount of pips from this. But I would highlight waiting for this support to break, wait for price to break out of this range here, and then look to get into any trades. And again, make sure you do manage those trades, because the market could kick in bullish pretty easily. So some short-term sells to the downside from 144 if we can get the breakout, of course, back down to 142, and of course if we can bounce from the low of the range again after, where is it, there we go, after this big fake out, there could be some nice longs to ride it back up and continue that momentum. I would only consider the bigger retracement, which I'm talking about in the higher time frames, if we can break out this consolidation here. If we can break out of that completely, that's when I'll expect the next bearish leg to occur for USD JPY. But for now, as long as we stay within that range, that's what I'm expecting for this pair. So to recap, some short-term short opportunities look good, but do wait for 144 to break first, look for the retest, and then you can take advantage of that. And also some longs at 142 at the low of the range, and again targets back to the highs there, just send it back where it came from. So hopefully that analysis was helpful. Again, I'm not really having this pair on my watch list, but if I was, that's probably what I'll be looking at for USD JPY for next week. Okay, so next up we've got USD CAD. So USD CAD still looking very bullish, as you can see here. Most of the week was a little bit sideways, just kind of consolidation, really some slight retracement, but the market's still kicking in bullish, and especially with that monthly candle closure, as you can see. This one's been smashing target after target this month, and now we're looking at price coming to 1.4, which is pretty much this resistance here with these big exaggerated wicks. That's where I do see the market come in next, and we're not too far away from a monthly perspective, especially with that candle closure there. So with USD CAD, again, still bullish with this one. any sells, you don't want to be holding them for too long because it's most likely just going to be a pullback retracement. You're better off to be focusing on the buy. So with this one, there's not a lot to work with because the market's just been ripping to the upside. So as you can see, the pullbacks are quite miniature. But I don't see USD CAD pushing further than this point here. If it does, then we could see maybe a bit more of a complex pullback, which could provide some nice swing trades. But as of right now, day trading this and just buying and maintaining that momentum, is your best bet here. So with USD CAD, the areas of interest I would pinpoint is 1.36674, this low here, and also this low 1.36033. These are like great areas to look to buy from if the market can obviously retrace into these areas. And then from there, I would expect the next kick to come to the upside. There's a chance, like I said last week, that we could just open bullish again and see Monday just keep pushing, because we've just had a quarter closure, obviously coming to the last quarter of the year, and a monthly candle closure as well. So typically at these times, we do see extra volatility and extra momentum in the markets, really. So I wouldn't be surprised if you just open up and just fly to 1.4 by the time I wake up on Monday. So if that's the case, then we could be looking at sells up there. But again, be careful, wait for some signs of reversal first. Don't just jump straight in, because we could obviously break past that. But bias going into next week is definitely bullish. We're looking for 1.4 to be hit. If it doesn't get hit next week, probably the week after we'll see 1.4 get hit. So that's what I'll be looking for USD CAD. And areas of interest, we've got two nice levels to work with on the 4H. We've got 1.36681 and 1.36003. So either one of those areas, if you can get a pullback into that, I'll be expecting the next bullish leg to the upside. So that's the plan going into USD CAD for next week. Okay, so now on to Euro Pound. So Euro Pound this week, crazy move to the upside, as you can see there. Difficult to trade that one. We were looking for price to come into those monthly kind of wick areas, wick regions here around 0.91, 0.92. But pretty much as the week opened, we smashed into that. So yeah, difficult to take advantage of that opportunity. But again, sales would have been great up here. And as you can see, the market's obviously wicked all the way back down the majority of that move. So I expect the market to probably go and fill this wick to the upside. In all honesty, the market's in a huge range here, key resistance there, key support. I do expect, because this is the monthly candle here, which is just closed, I do expect us to probably slowly work our way to fill this that big wick back to the upside again, back into this higher time frame level of resistance. And then we'll see what happens when we get there, of course. But I am looking for that wick to be filled on the monthly. So bullish bias for the month ahead for Euro Pound, and this is a key resistance that we could be looking at a retest of for the market to go bullish again. So for Euro Pound, even though the market is still a little bit crazy, bias for 0.87 do look very good. So I will be monitoring this level for buy opportunities, and again, risk to rewards. Yeah, I probably wouldn't hold on for the full move, but I will be looking to see if I can push the trade as much as possible. We do have this consolidation around here. That would be a great target. Then if things are looking good, you could be looking for 0.91 as well. But that's what I'll be looking at for Euro Pound. So we've got that monthly wick there, looking for that to fill, coming to the area where we saw all this momentum come from. So this is a great level of support demand where we do expect buyers to step back in. And if you can hold this level of support, we'll be looking for a push to the upside back up into 0.89500, but long term do see 0.891 getting hit again. So that's the plan going into next week for Euro Pound. Okay, so now on to Aodu USD. So for this pair, still looking pretty bearish here. Again, the areas of interest we had coming into the week, the market kind of got nowhere near, to be fair. We were looking for price to tap into some of these areas up here, but unfortunately the market kind of was just bearish at the start of the week, and it failed to kind of get above this point here, which is where the market opened. It came back and tapped that area and fell over again on Friday. So for Aodu USD, we're still working our way slowly towards our monthly and higher time frame targets. Again, we're looking at the body of the candlesticks there and also the wick there eventually. But that is where I do see Aodu USD heading towards. So for me, until we get there really, or unless some structure changes, I will be looking to sell the market back down to 0.61339. So for AUSD, even though we didn't get there this week, those levels are still valid, and I'll still be looking to short from them in case we see, I don't know, some AUD strength or some dollar weakness, and we work our way to those areas next week. I will be looking to short from there, expecting to see the next bearish leg for this pair to the downside. And again, targets, I'll probably should be looking at the lows over here around 0.636 rather than push it down to those lows. Maybe you have to see how price action looks during the week, but that certainly will be a target. So again, the levels from last week still valid. Nothing's really changed apart from the market just hasn't got there. There is a case that the market might just pick up speed again. We could see a retest of this resistance here, and the market could just take a dive from that. In that case, sells could be looking good from this level here, 0.65236. But again, I wouldn't push the trade too far back down to these lows at best, really, because there's a possibility the market could start to consolidate a little bit, with that being the resistance and that being the low of the range there. So with day trading, shorts is still your best bet. If you can see a push back to 0.65, 250, 300, that would be a great place to sell. And again, targets back down at those lows. But for me, I'll be seeing if I can get a slightly bigger pullback into one of those two areas at 0.665 and 0.67230, and targets back down to the lows at 0.636 for next week. So AUSD still seeing a lot more downside, but hopefully you can get a bigger pullback for this one and ride that momentum back down to those monthly targets. Okay, so now on to NZD CAD. So NZD CAD this week, again, still pretty bearish. We did see some nice upside into this consolidation. So I was talking about coming into the week, price coming into this consolidation or potentially coming into these highs, here, which should align pretty nicely with the prior swing low there on the left around 0.79400. So those are the two areas that could see NZD CAD reacting with, potentially forming another lower high. You can see how consistent the market's been with these lower highs. And again, all we're looking to do is just repeat that, really. And as you can see, the market's tapped back into that nice reaction, and we're seeing some bearish momentum come back in again. So with NZD CAD, because we are trading at some lows where again, I wouldn't really push this as a swing trade. I wouldn't really look to push the trades too far. We are coming out to some areas where we could react from. As you can see, we smashed through that area now, potentially could move to this area here. So for me, I'll just be working with the psychological levels at this point for NZD CAD. I'm looking on the left, and there's quite a lot of areas of interest where the market could react from. We've got this level here with that consolidation, kind of got this point going across there, got these lows. So again, I'll just be playing with the psychological levels because there's no pinpoint area where I expect NZD CAD to get to and potentially see some upside. So with this one, I would like to see more retracement. Again, I would say your best bet is just looking to day trade this one, a few hours, maybe a day or two max. And just ride that momentum. And again, at these lows here, you probably want to step away and not look to do anything buys or sells. If you want to sell the market, preferably would have got into this move, or if the market can come back, retest it again or slightly higher, that's when the sells will be looking a lot better. But other than that, all I'm seeing right now is some more downside until structure breaks for NZD CAD. So for me, still bearish, looking at price coming down to back down to the prior lows there at 0.768, maybe 0.76 as well. And also got that level there. If the market does want to come back and retest that again, that'll also be a nice valid area of resistance to sell from as well. And again, targets back down to lows, but if you want to push it a little bit further, 0.76 looks likely as well. So overall bias for NZD CAD is still more downside. Structure is still bearish. Low highs have been consistent as ever, so no need to try and change things until that changes, of course. And levels of interest, same as last week, 0.78522 and 0.79384. Okay, so now on to the lovely pound NZD. So this one was very, very crazy this week. If I was just to measure the low and the high of the move this week, the low of the week essentially and the high of the week, you see 1,830 pips. And if you put that in context, if I go in the weekly time frame, and this is peak COVID back in March 2020, measure the low and the high of that, you can see 1,800 as well. So, you know, this move here is the same scale as what happened in COVID. So, you know, some crazy moves this week for pound NZD and pound in general, but pound NZD especially as well. So you can see the market's kind of cleared a lot of price action here. We're in a big old range here. The market's kind of broken out that pretty cleanly, but in all, you know, taking up the whole context of pound NZD, you can see the market just very choppy altogether, and it's kind of in a bigger range. And we're coming into another key level here, which is around the 2 mark. Big psychological level there for pound NZD, where I do expect to see some type of reaction. There's a possibility we could just see some momentum continue and just push into these highs. And if you can break through that level, if you can break through that level, then that's what I expect to happen. But if we start to stall and reject here, I do think we can roll back over and see price kind of correct itself back into those highs there around 1.95. So the plan for pound NZD is some shorts as long as this level holds. If it breaks through, we'll look for the retest and just kind of continue that momentum, because with a candle as big as this, you know, it could be the start of something crazy and a bigger trend in price breaking out this consolidation, maybe back to those highs there with this size of candle. And sometimes it's the complete opposite. It's like a big fake move, taps into resistance, and price reverses the whole thing. So I'm kind of waiting to see which one it will be. The way to tell is just see if momentum sustains. If momentum continues for another week and price keeps pushing and stays above 2, maybe even takes out that high, and that'll tell us that potentially you could be coming up to some of these COVID highs potentially. But yeah, if we stall here, then it was a bit of a fake candle, to be fair. So yeah, coming to a key level, we'll see what price does here. Again, the market's still extremely bullish. So again, make sure you do wait for your reversal signs before looking to get in. But I'll see what happens at this level. If we just rally straight through, then we'll look for the retest and the higher low somewhere. And next target will be 2.04, 2.05 if we do get past this. But we'll see what happens here. Like I said, targets for this one will be into this prior high, which we just broke through from no retest. So that will definitely be an area of value. But again, if the market does break through that high, we'll be looking for the market to push into that swing high there, which is actually just before we had that big kind of outburst with Russia and Ukraine. So crazy times for pound NZD, as you can see. But again, as traders, we've got to stick to our price action, stick to, you know, our trading strategy, and see out the phase through. So yeah, for next week, looking to see what we do at 2. Again, there's no kind of information there, so we have to see what happens on Monday morning, what we do there. But looking for shorts to the downside, back down to 1.95. If we smash straight through that, we'll look for the retest and see if we can hold above that, and we'll work our way to 2.04 for next week for pound NZD. Okay, so now onto CAD JPY. So this was main consolidation this week. As you can see, we did kind of drop to the downside last week. I was looking for some upside coming into this area here. You can see prior resistance broke to the upside for a lot of momentum, expecting to see, you know, some type of reaction, which we did see, but we just didn't really take off from that level. Now the market, looking at the 4H time frame, it's pretty bearish with this momentum, and it's tried to rally to the upside a couple times this week, but it's failing to do so. Resistance is holding tight here, and the market looks like it could be due to roll over. So it looks like we could be seeing some more downside for CAD yen. I was talking about the monthly candle last video. We're coming into this resistance here. You can see nice reaction there, huge move to the downside again there, and potentially we could be seeing some downside for CAD yen. Maybe not a complete reversal, but we could be seeing a reaction to the downside, simply because we've come into this strong level, big wick to the upside. You know, you do expect the market to move in the opposite direction. So with that monthly candle closure, I would expect the market probably to be coming back into this major level of support here and resistance around 102,500. So with that monthly candle closure, long still look good, probably from down here, but I wouldn't look to long it anymore from the support, especially with it ranging here. So I'm looking for CAD yen to drop to the downside. but again, would like to see another pullback or even a break through the support there, a retest of that, and then the continuations excuse me, back down to 102,500. So that's the plan I have for CAD Yen. Again, utilizing the higher time frames to see what's happening does help paint the picture with this one. And you can see that the monthly candles had a very, very big rejection and a big wick above a key level, and it's failed to break through. So as long as we don't start flying to the upside and break through some structure, I would expect CAD JPY to roll over. And even if we do break to the upside like so, coming into this area here, I would still look to short, because again, the monthly candle could still give us another wick to the upside before falling over. So it doesn't have to do it straight away. It could still push up one more time before it does have that bigger rollover. So do keep that in mind, but the targets do stay the same for this one. With CAD Yen, we are looking at this 102,500 level for next week for CAD JPY. Okay, so onto pound USD. So again, another pound pair, big push to the downside, as you can see, hitting our quarterly target, which is the all-time lows for pound USD. As you can see, if I highlight that level there, we kind of just wicked through them and pull back up there. So the market is trading at very, very key prices here for pound USD, which could start a bit of a bullish run since we're so low down. But of course, you know, we've got to stick to momentum and what the structure is doing. And structure is still pretty bearish and still consistently placing lower highs. So we'll be looking to see if we can get a reaction coming potentially into this area here around 1.14 there on the weekly time frame. So that's why I'm kind of looking to sell the market. To pinpoint levels of interest, I'll be looking at this kind of high there, because obviously this is a major zone. So obviously I won't be looking to sell straight into it. I'll be picking out my areas of interest here on the 4H time frame, 1.14348, that level there, and this high at 1.15670. Those are levels that I'll be looking to sell at, because I do want the market to come higher away from those all-time lows, so I can look for some swing trades again. Again, shorts, you know, down at these areas here, you don't want to be holding them for too long, because especially, you know, trading at all-time lows, the best thing to do is wait for the market to do its thing. If you want to, you can look for longs. But yeah, at those kind of prices, I tend to stay away. So with pound USD, I'm hoping for some more upside into these areas here where I look to sell it back down again. There might be a nice reaction at this level here. It's not quite the weekly zone, but I will keep my eye on 1.13334, because we could get a nice reaction from that level. That's actually the high that I was talking about last week. I was looking to see if pound USD can come up into that, and obviously, you know, we dropped and hit those lows anyway. So that level there is still valid. Nothing's changed. I still do expect a reaction, but if we do creep into that weekly zone there, that would be great confluence at one of these areas to see a move to the downside. Targets, I'll probably look at this level here, or if some new structure forms during the week, because again, I don't want to push the trades too far, but at the same time, you know, I want to make sure I'm getting good risk reward trades. So that's what I'll be looking at for pound USD. If we do come back lower first, I do think some buyers could be looking good, a little bit aggressive, and probably I won't be too interested in these type of buys. But because of where we're trading and the momentum that we just snapped to the upside with, I do think if we do work our way back down to these lows here, we'll see some type of reaction. But again, probably don't look to push the trade too far. So keep an eye out for some buys here at 1.07984 and 1.06459. But for me, I'm still focused on the sales for pound USD, but I do want the market to come a little bit higher for next week. Okay, so now on to pound CAD. So as you can see, big crash to the downside, smashing through some key targets for us. Some all-time lows, I'm pretty sure, which are these lows here at 1.456. And I think we already broke through these lows, or got close to them. I think we did break through them. So as you can see, we smashed through that and have had a pretty big retracement off that. If I go to the monthly time frame, you can see which was a pretty bearish month, quickly turned bullish in the last few days there of the month. So with pound CAD rejecting that low there, we do have this support that the market broke through, which does look likely to come back and get retested. So with pound CAD, and especially with the daily price action here, you can see the market formed this beautiful range here, broke to the downside of that momentum. I'm looking at this being a bit of a fake move. The market now seeing some momentum to the upside, clearing those highs. So I'm seeing if we can get back down, retest the what was the high of the range now as support, and look for a move to the upside back to 1.6 there. So that's the new plan going for pound CAD. As long as we stay on top of the range, not break back inside, that's what I'll be looking at for pound CAD from a swing perspective. So dropping onto the lower time frames, we can pinpoint our area of interest here on the full H time frame, which is this level here at 1.52300. If you can come back and retest that, I'm looking at more upside to start the week off. However, I do think there could be some nice sales coming into this area here. As you can see, really nice area of support, bunch of wicks there as well, and obviously here just before we got the breakout to the downside. So from 1.55 there could be some nice shorts that work our way back down into that area for the continuation. There's a chance that we could just fly to the upside without the retest of that, which would be unfortunate, but I'll still be looking at buys from this level here at 1.52300. But like I said, start the week off, I can see momentum taking us there, and we'll see what type of price action we can get at 1.55, because if you do see some signs of reversal, I do think we can take advantage of that retracement back down to 1.52, then we can see what happens at that level. So for me, for pound CAD, I do think we're slowly working our way back to 1.6, so that's kind of my new kind of swing target I'll be trading towards. But I do want to see the market retrace, because obviously after such a big move to the upside there, I'm not going to measure for pips, but it's a lot of pips. I do want to see the market retrace before I step into any buys, and this would be a great level for the market to retrace to. So that's the plan going to next week for pound CAD. Short-term sales to the downside. To be fair, I don't think it will be too short-term. It'll still be a fair bit amount of pips. Yeah, 260 pips there to the downside, if we can get to that target, of course. But that's why I'll be interested in my buys back into 1.55, and then we'll see about 1.6, but we'll keep that in the back of our heads for now. This is what I've got going for next week for pound CAD. Okay, so now on to pound yen. So pound yen this week again collapsed to the downside, taking out some very, very vital lows here. Did see a big kind of retracement. Obviously, all the pound pairs kind of saw that, but again, it hasn't changed too much with us, because we still see this higher time frame structure. That was a higher high, just about made a higher high past that point, made a lower high here, and slowly rolled over. Well, actually picked up the pace around there. But again, we are looking for that next lower high to print somewhere. And the area that I'm eyeing up is at this kind of consolidation where price stalled for a little bit, and we had that Bank of Yen intervention there, big move to the downside. But really, I'm looking at all these wicks here around 163, 100, 163 we'll call it. So I'm looking out for a bit more upside into there to catch some sells, but again, I'm not looking for anything crazy. I know the market has printed the lower high and taken out a lot of key levels here. I'm looking at the monthly time frame and how the monthly candles closed. You can see it closed as a doji, but this big move to the downside was all just a wick there on the monthly. And the way I look at the wicks on the higher time frames, they tell me which moves are fake and which moves are true, so to speak. If I see a strong bullish candle closure on the monthly, that shows momentum sustained for that month. You know, the fact that we saw a lot of bearish momentum, you know, just before the end of the month, and then price suddenly just erased that and left a wick, you know, it shows that the market tried to go bearish but failed. So I'm not sure if the market's going to reverse yet, but my short-term bias, or bias for the week at least, will be for sales, something like this to the downside. But I wouldn't be looking to push it past this kind of point here, where the bottom of these wicks lie around 160, 300. So with pound yen going into next week, want to see a little bit more upside into this area, so to speak, around 163. We'll look for some sell opportunities around that area. And again, targets, like I said, 160. And from there may be some actually buys to take it back up again. But for me, I'll be focusing on that sell. I'll see what we get down there. May look to going for some longs, but because we've taken out so many key levels, broke through so much structure, and printed these highs on the higher time frames, I'm definitely looking for sells at these areas, but I'm not going to look to push it too far based on what the higher time frames are telling me as well. So yeah, pound yen for next week, looking at sells. Hopefully you can push up a little bit higher into 163. Then we'll be looking at push into 160 and potentially move back up again there as well. Okay, so now on to gold. So gold did start off pretty bearish, but the market did find its feet midweek, and as you can see, did see some upside. Again, the bias for gold is still bearish. We're still looking for 1650 for the market to return back to that level of support around there. As you can see, especially if we can stay below 1700, which is this key level there. So I'm still looking at gold rolling to the downside. The market's still consistently making lower lows and lower highs, so that is what I'll be focusing on. If I just get rid of that level there, we know it's there, 1700. So yeah, my level that I'm looking at for gold now is back at these highs at the range here, which is around the 1676 area. I was looking for the break and retest of the range coming into the week, which we did get. Slight reaction from that. That was during the agent session, so I wasn't actually awake to trade that. The market did break inside the range here, but nothing's changed in terms of direction. Just means that level didn't hold fully. So we'll see what we can get at 1676, and also this area consolidation there as well. If this level doesn't hold, I'll still be looking for that short bias, which is around the 1700 mark, really just inside that weekly time frame support level. So for me, nothing's changed for gold. We have seen some upside, but as long as we stay below 1700, the bias stands strong. So for gold, looking for a reaction for one of these two levels. We didn't quite get into that there on Friday, so hopefully we can see a little bit more upside start the week off. And then yeah, targets. I'll probably be looking at targets back down to these lows here, and then maybe like taking most of my profit and leaving some to trickle to see if we can get to 1550, because I don't think I'll look to push the trade in one go all the way down to those lows. But I'll see what I can do. So those lows look likely. 1550 looks good, but we may, consolidate, may do have a bigger retracement beforehand. So don't want to get too greedy with our targets. But yeah, gold bias is still short. We're still below that weekly level. Areas of interest, 1676, 1700. We'll see what we can get at these areas. And targets, we'll be looking at price returning back down to those lows at 1619 for next week. Okay, so on to Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, again, is running out momentum. It's still overly looking bearish here, and we still do have these wick lows that price potentially can go look to take out and see some new lows past that. As you can see, we lost a lot of momentum. Nice move to the upside, momentum kicked back in again, and we did see price go and test this level up here, which was one of our areas of interest. Really nice reaction to the downside, but again, momentum depleted. The market's starting to consolidate again. So with Bitcoin, I do think now there'll be some nice buys from this level here, 18,749, back up to that resistance, where again there could be some nice sells back down again. But I'm not too sure if the market could come back and take those lows. If we break through this level, then yeah. But Bitcoin is starting to play some equal lows here and starting to push up and create some higher lows there as well. And especially with this strong move, just completely depleting, respecting that support, it shows that the buyers are starting to hold firm as well. And we could be seeing the market come back into that resistance next week. So for Bitcoin, buys are looking pretty good at this level of support here, 18,730. But again, because we know the higher time frames are still bearish, still giving us bearish structure, not going to get too greedy with those buys. Push back up to that level there will still look good to sell, as long as we can see some nice entry confirmations, and maybe from another retest of this we can get that bigger fall to take out those lows if we can hold that. But for Bitcoin right now, expect to see a move to the upside back to 2288, and from there we might see the next bearish leg to the downside, aka taking out those lows and seeing another continuation. But because Bitcoin's had such a strong move down and momentum's just depleted, It's not a good sign from a bearish standpoint, and it means that the buyers could be holding firm and see price rise again, especially if you break through the resistance there. So the plan for Bitcoin is just play the range, because that's what the market is doing really at these lows. We've got a nice support level here, 18,700, buys from that, and also sells from 20,288 up there as well. Okay, so on to our bonus pair, USD CHF. So for this pair, I'm looking for us to return back to these highs. We've had some nice bearish structure as of late, as you can see. We had the highs up there, low, lower high, lower low. Then we formed these equal highs, higher low, and just as of recently, in the past few days, we formed a higher high past this point. So the market has gradually gone from bearish to forming some bullish higher lows, and it looks like the market could have formed another higher low here as well. So I am looking at us returning back to 1.00500, maybe even breaking through that as well. We've just seen a nice daily candle closure back above this resistance here. I'm looking to see if we can retest that and continue bullish. You can see a nice double bottom there on the 4H to add to our confluence. Price formed the support, tried to break through it, respected it, nice move to the upside, and is actually breaking through this resistance here as well. So I actually want USD CHF to push a little bit further to the upside, and then I'll look for some longs on the retest of 0.98500, and from that as well, we're looking for my longs to target back up into that daily level. So yeah, that's the plan for USD CHF. I'm seeing another bullish move to the upside. If we do break underneath, it might mean price will have a deeper retracement. So I'm not going to write up the longs completely. In fact, during the week, I was actually interested in a test of this consolidation, which you didn't quite come into. So if we do break back underneath the level, that's where my next level of interest will be. But the targets still remain the same, back to that higher time frame level up there, high time frame level of resistance up there. So yeah, the targets stay the same, buy stay the same if we don't get the opportunity, but that looks like the best bet currently for USD CHF. So for this one, looking for more upside and targets back up to 1.005 for next week. But yeah, guys, that is the end of the video. I hope you found the video useful. Again, if you do want to see a particular bonus pair for next week, or potentially in one of the videos coming up, please leave it down in the chat. Be sure to add it to the list. If you guys have found the video useful and enjoyed it, please be sure to leave a like on the video. It does really help the channel out. And also subscribe as well. If you haven't done already, join the family. I analyze the chart every weekend and also during my streams during the week. So feel free to subscribe if you're liking the content. But thank you very much for watching the video. I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I'll catch you all next week.